News 13 and Fox 43 newscast will have a different look tonight. Meet the reason why, coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at Villa Romana Italian Restaurant in Myrtle Beach, sitting in front of their nativity scene. We're focused on Martha Hunn's first day back on television. And we're visiting Martha Hunn. Good morning, Martha.
Hey, good to see you,
Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having us here.
It's amazing. I think we're at Villa Romana, and to think the real excitement is you being back on air at TV 13 today at 5 o'clock.
Today's the day.
The kicker there, live, just like right here. I mean, this is amazing. It's a big deal.
It is fun. It's exciting, and it feels like coming home again.
Really?
Absolutely.
There have been a lot of coming homes for you over the last couple of weeks. I know it's been such a big thing for you, the transition out of the Myrtle Beach Area Hospitality Association, knowing that's been such a huge family for you, to know your last day there last Thursday.
I have been richly blessed to work for the most outstanding organization on the beach, I have to say.
Yeah.
The Myrtle Beach Area Hospitality Association has been very good to me, and I have loved every minute of being with them. And a 34-member board of directors, you know, a small staff, but doing great big things all the time. And then, you know, an organization that typically has about 600 members, and it's one of the largest, probably the largest, local hospitality association in America.
Really, Martha? I didn't know that.
Well, you know, this is such a dynamic community, Greg.
Right.
And it has so much to do with the history of the Myrtle Beach area, with the fact that most of the folks you see around running the businesses own the business they run.
Right.
So there's just extreme dedication from people who are here and are stakeholders in this community. You know, and the folks that come in corporately understand that and learn that being very engaged is what we're all about in the Myrtle Beach area. So I've just been so blessed to work for this organization, and I'm going to miss it. They're definitely going to miss it terribly.
I know. A decade there, Martha.
Just about.
Right, virtually a decade. I know it was fascinating before we started hearing you talk about your experiences. Was it the first public information officer for the county? For
the county, right. That was right before I joined the Hospitality Association.
Right, after leaving a tenure there at TV 13, and even before that at WGSE, TV 43, the Christian station here, which of course is now the Fox affiliate. You know, it's fascinating as we think about your career, of course, growing up here in Horry County, growing up in Conway, and the excitement of really knowing the county well, and now having been back here as long as you have. You know, it's just amazing to see transitions in folks' lives. Share with the viewers a little bit about growing up in Conway. How was that for you? Was that an exciting, I mean, you know, when you look back on it now and think, I'm excited where I lived, or some folks say, you know, I moved around. I was with somebody a few weeks back at Benjamin Creel's 40th birthday, and we're sitting in the peanut gallery, the peanut warehouse, excuse me, hearing this woman say she's Benjamin's aunt, hearing her talk about she and her husband moved 34 times during his service in the Marine Corps.
Wow.
And, you know, hearing someone, of course, she was an adult at that point, but moving around a lot. And then we think about you and your family still here in Conway.
Pretty much. We live in Myrtle Beach, actually. And I got married back in 1986, and that's when I moved over from Conway to the beach to join my sweetheart.
Yes.
And Ralph. And I love Conway, and I go back and visit my folks. All of my family are there. And Conway, growing up, this is just to me, it's a fun town. It is certainly different today than it was when I was there.
Oh yeah.
You know, one of the great things about Conway today, compared to when I was growing up there, is I love the revitalization of the downtown.
Oh yeah.
And I'm so proud about that too. Because when I lived there, it really was not as dynamic in the downtown area. And now you have such a presence of the theater, of the Republic, and the arts today. So much to offer people who want to live in Conway and work possibly at the beach and the tourism industry. So much to offer. As a child, it seemed like a big town to me until I reached my teens, and then I felt like it was getting smaller to me. And I was blessed to have the opportunity to work in Washington, D.C. in Strom Thurmond's office my senior year.
Martha, is that right?
And that opened up the world for me. And I got the taste. Of course, now my father, Philip Sasser, was in politics as I grew up. He was a state legislator.
Right.
And so I had politics in my background. And remember the first day he took me to Columbia, and we saw him on the State House floor.
Oh, yeah.
And I just, and they introduced us in the gallery, and I was just intrigued and in awe, and of course he beamed in my eyes when I saw him there. And then having been invited to work for Strom Thurmond in Washington just elevated that much more and made me just love that whole political process. So my focus in my studies was on political science.
And where was that, Martha?
I started out at Coastal Carolina back before it was a university. Right. It was a branch of USC.
Right.
And then transferred to the University of South Carolina in Columbia, and then finished back up at Coastal because that summer I met my sweetheart, and I decided I did not want to go back to Columbia.
And your sweetheart was here. He was in Ori.
Ralph is my husband is a native of Heidelberg, Germany, but his father had moved here back in the 60s and was in the restaurant and nightclub business. And so my husband moved here when he was, I think, 18.
Is that right?
And so I met him that summer and decided not to go back to Columbia.
Now, have you all been back to Heidelberg? Isn't Heidelberg the home of Neuschwanstein, the amazing case?
No, but it's not too far away.
Is that right?
Neuschwanstein is in the Bavarian area, which is a little southwest of, southeast of Heidelberg. Heidelberg is, I'm going to say, of all the cities I've seen, it is one of the most majestic, probably the most majestic city that I've ever seen.
Is
it
that
has phenomenal castle ruins that overlooks the Neckar River, and at night, especially during holidays, they light it up. They light up the castle, and often we'll do fireworks from the castle to remind you of battles and things like that. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful old city, and has the second oldest university in the world.
Is that right?
And focuses very much on medicine and that sort of thing. Many breakthroughs come from Heidelberg University.
There's that parts of Germany. I think the Passion Spiel, the Passion Play, is close by.
The Student Prince is I don't know if you've ever heard that story, but also famous story was centered in Heidelberg as well.
It's an amazing area.
It's beautiful, very beautiful. And my husband's mother and stepfather and most of their family are there, cousins and aunts and uncles, and so we go over pretty regularly.
Gives you good reason to get back. And when you talk about there's a little more than just you and Ralph traveling. Has your daughter traveled with you?
That's right, Bridget, and she's 15, and she has always, ever since she was 7 months old, traveled with us over, and she'll be blessed to spend about 6 weeks this summer without us. That'll be nerve-wracking for Mama, but without us, so that she can brush up her German. And
6 weeks this summer she'll be in Germany.
That's right.
Wow, Martha.
So
now,
that's exciting.
For Ralph and Bridget, and then 12 hours from now, I'm sure 10 hours from now, they want to be there in the studio. They want to see you, and it's the first night back on air full time. You've been prepping a lot, getting ready for this.
Absolutely.
You've been going to the studio. Share with the viewers a little about what it's like. And we want to stress again, this is WBTW News 13.
That's right.
Doing their 5 and 11 o'clock, and then anchoring the 10 o'clock news on Fox 43. That's right.
Absolutely, absolutely. Very excited, and yes, a lot of preparation. The funny thing, you mentioned my daughter. She's excited about this. She was 3 or 4 when I left TV 13 before to work for Horry County. And so she barely remembers the TV, and a lot of things I have to recall. We talked earlier about how much makeup you wear, and I've kind of gotten out of the wearing all the makeup, and so it's been fun. I've been getting great makeup tips from a coach and playing around and wearing way more makeup than I should in broad daylight, just to kind of get back in the rhythm of doing that.
And share with viewers real quick why that's important. I mean, we're talking about a lot of lighting.
Well, it is.
Yeah, there's
absolutely.
just a lot of heavy lighting on you. Is that right?
It's heavy lighting,
Right.
and the lighting does wash out your skin, and so you have to learn a completely different way, you know, of applying your makeup and your hair and all
Right.
that. So that's fun too. But also, there's so much more to it than obviously than your appearance. There is preparation, you know, for how you present the news, and so 11 years. You want to sit right back down and be ready and relax and enjoy the process. And I love people. I love our community. And so that's the most exciting thing, is about coming back into the anchor chair after having been a part of this community and in the integral workings of our community, you know, behind closed doors in meetings and understanding the dynamics of what's happening here and being blessed to be in the heart of it, working for the Hospitality Association. Now taking that into the newsroom and sitting down at the anchor chair and hopefully, you know, conveying that. That's my hope.
You know, the fascinating aspect, when we talk about community, of course, I think about things from two angles. The Herald, which is a small community newspaper primarily serving Myrtle Beach and the South Strand, and then Fox 43, which, much like TV 13, has a community signal, which reaches, you know, 250,000 folks in North Carolina, 750,000 folks in South Carolina. So the community landscape changes. 8 counties that are in TV 13 and Fox 43's viewing area. The community changes pretty dramatically. How's that going to be for you trying to even remember some of the small towns? I mean, you've got to recite these names correctly when you're reading the news.
You've got to remember I grew up here.
That's
and
it.
So,
that's right. Yeah.
You know, I've taken my car in and out of the different counties many times growing up as a child, traveling all over, and so I'm very familiar.
This is old hat.
With it. It absolutely is, but. And having worked on some of the programs that we do with the Northeastern Strategic Alliance, NISA, you know, that's a 10-county area, and the PD very much of which is a part of the viewing area as well. So very familiar and have a lot of contacts and with friends, you know, throughout that area. But still, sure, I mean, it's a different thing to be, you know, now refamiliarizing yourself with all of the issues that maybe I haven't come across through that I-73 work or the Northeastern Strategic Alliance work that we're doing. And that's fun because to me, every job I've had, I've loved because I love learning. And anytime you're sitting in a room with someone who has knowledge about something going on, it's your opportunity to ask questions and learn. And that may be the old reporter in me too. But that's such a blessing to be working in any position where you have the opportunity to listen, ask questions, and then learn what's happening and how it impacts the area and people.
Golly, yes, Martha. Those are great words. And, of course, you know, News 13 is very strong also in southeastern North Carolina.
That's right.
So it's getting re-engineered to focusing on Robeson County and Scotland County and Columbus County and the real impact that News 13 serves in that role. Fox 43 less so, albeit we're very strong in those communities as well. So it's a big deal.
It is. And one of my favorite efforts in more recent years in the Hospitality Association work, and something that I know will continue. There have been several very important efforts to look at our community as a region. And defining that region. And how do we define the region? And one effort that was earlier on was something that was called, Coastal Carolina Regional Tourism Alliance, which involved North Carolina counties as well as South Carolina counties. And then, of course, the Growth Summit that has been, I think, maybe the third year that has been a joint effort with Coastal Carolina University and many organizations in the area, and that, and the Sun News, and that, I believe, as I said, the third year, that this last year focused specifically on regionalism.
Great, good, that's right, I remember reading that.
And they brought in folks from Florida who have just gone through a major regional process.
That's right.
And so they were able to really give us some guidance on where to go next. And I know that today that is being explored with bringing on a consulting company to help our area define the region and develop initiatives that are going to be the future of the area. And so it's early still, but you have to start talking about those things early.
That's right. You know, Theda Jackson was with us a couple weeks ago, and even though she's relatively new to the area, she knows of monikers like Charlotte, USA, not Charlotte, North Carolina, Charlotte, USA, or people on the West Coast or in the Midwest thinking of Myrtle Beach is, where is that? Is that in the Carolinas? Is it in Florida? I mean, it's that idea that really the need, most folks know it's in the Carolinas, but where in the Carolinas, maybe not. And so there's been that effort, as you say, regionalism, the vitality of that, the importance of really continuing to focus on that.
We're interdependent.
Absolutely.
You know, and so this is all about, and it's a challenge because we all love our little individual area.
Yeah, sure.
But it is all about beginning to break down boundaries and barriers and understanding what we have in common.
Right.
A tourist does not really know when they cross that North Carolina line if they are staying in Myrtle Beach and playing golf in Brunswick County.
Sure.
They don't really know
That's right.
that they are. I mean, or care. Frankly,
No, of course they don't
care.
And Theda that's right.
You
Absolutely.
know, and so again, that's the future, and a lot of work from a lot of great people out here. Harold Stowe and I know Paul Ellis has been real involved, and Dr. Ron Engel and Dave DeCenzo from Coastal, very involved in that effort.
Share with viewers now what it's like for you, Martha, having obviously had this 10-year plus sabbatical. Now getting back in, how has the news behind the scenes changed? Has it changed? Even think back, let's go back to 1987, 3 years after TV 43 had kicked off in this community. You became an anchor and then their news director before being snatched by TV 13 to head on across the street over there. Maybe you can go back to 87, share with the viewers coming out of college and then getting on air. That must have been a big deal, even on a small station like that.
Oh, yes. It was a huge deal and pretty hilarious.
Yeah, okay. Right.
For me, I laugh at it today. I was in a state of panic probably for a whole year.
Oh, yeah.
That first year, because I shared with some of your folks that I first accepted the position as a part-time reporter at TV 43.
Right.
And then when they began to crank up the newscast, I was offered the full-time position to come in. And my first day on the job, I walked in the door and my news director said, "Sit down, you're going to write this newscast, and tonight you're going to anchor."
Oh my God.
And of course, it's a horrible, and you're just a disaster on the air.
Yeah.
And what a great experience,
Oh, yeah.
To just be under the gun. And that is news, by the way, is you are always having to think fast on your feet. And those things don't change. The things that don't change are we must be thorough. First and foremost, we must have relationships in this community so that we are trusted, trustworthy, and so that we then are held accountable in this business. And then, of course, news happens. Those things are constant, and our responsibility to the public and to the product are all the same. Of course, the biggest changes, I think, are over the years, technology. Technology has such a huge impact on the business and the learning process of changing technologies. So dramatic changes since 1987 and today in the news product and the technology, the computer systems, and of course the way that we tape, the type of tape, video and digital, and the weight of the cameras is certainly so different.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Because when I started in the news business, I not only had a huge camera that weighed a ton, but I had a camera pack that weighed a ton and a tape this big. Today the tapes are this big, and it's all in one. And I don't think I'll be carrying a camera anymore. But I just love that for the folks who do that. It's much lighter weight. Today, all editing for most places, all editing is in the computer. Yes, nonlinear editing versus editing from tape to tape. So it's a completely different process. So I think those are the biggest changes.
And those are big changes.
Yeah.
And of course, you're able to see that. So now, are Bridget and Ralph going to be there tonight at 5? Are they going to be there watching you live? And are they?
They won't be in the studio.
Yeah, okay, first night. They'll be at home, obviously, watching.
Oh, sure.
Mom,
absolutely.
first day back.
Absolutely. They will be.
Now, of course, you've been going into prep some to try to get ready again. How have they been running you through the? How have they been running you through the cycles to try to get you ready for tonight's 5, 10, and 11 o'clock broadcast?
Well, the first thing that I asked for, and writing is very much a part of my background, and when I worked for 13 before, I wrote all the shows that I anchored, or most of them. You know, you had reporters writing certain pieces of it, but I wrote a lot of it. And that's the producer background as well. So becoming acquainted with how, of course, the television stations do those things today, how TV 13 does that today. And News 13 has a tremendous staff.
Oh, yeah.
And connecting with my good friend Mitch Davis as executive producer, and having Mitch clue me in on the computer systems, refamiliarizing me with how, well, actually newly familiarizing me with that, refamiliarizing me with the show's rundowns, the scripting, and then emailing scripts to me so that I can look them over. And then going in the evenings after my work at the Hospitality Association, going across the street and sitting down with Bob Juback on the set, and who's a dear friend of mine as well. Nicole Boone and Bob and I go way back, and so Nicole all the way back to TV 43.
That's amazing.
You know, so that's great fun. And as I said, it is like coming home. And I truly felt that way walking back into the station when we were shooting our promotions and things like that. It was a very, very warm welcome. And, you know, you just cannot ask for more than that.
Yeah.
You really can't. They're a great team.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Two funny questions, you know, that aspect. Did you talk to Allison before she left for Chicago? Did you have a chance to talk to her about what it was like being on set? Some of the, even not confidentially, but talking to some of the folks about the dynamics of working with the others in the newsroom. I mean, you know, making sure you're comfortable, and your communications with the news director, how those have been. There
have been lots of communications, and all have been very, very positive. As I said, I love the team, and part of the reason that I did make the decision to come on back, a big part of the reason, has to do with the leadership team at News 13. You know, just wonderful. Mike Pumo is just, he's got a great heart.
Oh, he does.
And a great leadership style. And to me, it's the heart, you know, and the desire to lead in a great way every day. And that's what I've learned of Mike over the years, and that's one of the things that attracted me back. Gina Katzmark, the news director, has impressed me from the start.
Yeah, we love Gina.
We do too, and one of the things that I think is fun, and Gina will hear this, is that the team loves Gina. And so, you know, yes, there's been a lot of communication, and that has really centered around, hey, how is it, you know? But I couldn't communicate with the news team per se until after I had agreed to sign on board. So, so there was some timing, you know, that happened in that, because I wanted to make sure I was coming and all of that. But they are so supportive. And Allison is a great friend, and a beautiful lady, and just such a tremendous newscaster and professional. And so I'm sure she is really going to be missed in the area.
She will be, absolutely. You know, I remember, it's funny, sitting here at Villa Romana, obviously, in the nativity scene. It was so exciting being here a few weeks back, leading up to Christmas. We were here, and the excitement of being here. And Ronaldo still has a lot. Obviously, the restaurant's closed for a couple weeks, so it was great to be able to get in this morning again. The morning of your first day back home. Last time I had dinner with Gina, we actually had dinner here at Villa Romana, which was very nice as we were kicking off the partnership with TV 13, which has been an amazing partnership. Fox 43 has been very blessed. The other person I wanted to ask you about was Jimmy Thompson. Did you ever meet the minister who owned TV 43 while you worked there?
Many times.
You did,
yeah. He was in the station a good bit.
He came down from Greenville
real
a good
sweetheart,
bit.
real sweet guy. Yeah. So I was very connected to the whole team there for that time. And then when I left and went to TV 13, I still maintained some connection with some of those folks.
Sure. Well, of course, TV 43 has changed a good bit. Even
it has.
TV 13 has changed with the ownership from Spartan for so many years to Media General.
Yes,
which
big
has
company.
been a great transition. Media General, $1 billion company out of Richmond. They know what's going on. They obviously own newspapers as well and know that business very well.
Very dedicated. And that's another thing that's been wonderful, is to have the opportunity to become very acquainted with, and I'm sure I will become much more acquainted with Media General. And they are wonderful communicators. Their website, their employee orientation program is outstanding and gives you the chance to really understand what they're about, what their mission, what their vision, what their most important principles are as an organization. And what a gift for a new person coming in to understand, because they articulate it so well. Right. And so I'm very impressed with the company.
Any last-minute jitters, Martha? Get ready
of
for
course.
tonight. Yeah.
Oh, you know, I think it was Mickey Rooney who said, if you don't get butterflies, then you're not normal. You're going to have that, you know, but remembering that this is what I love. This is what I love, and I'm really excited and ready to get back into something that I didn't allow myself to think about so much about how much I missed it. I have a way of just really focusing forward on where we're going as a family, where I'm going as a person, and where the organization that I'm working for is going. And so I did not allow myself too much to think about how much I missed it. And it wasn't until Mike Fumo really started talking to me about coming back in that I allowed myself to think about, wow, what would that be to go back into the newsroom today? And of course that was it. I mean, you know, to think of doing that again.
We're glad he talked to you. We're glad you thought of it. And thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you.
Absolutely. Stay tuned to more Carolina People with Martha Hunn coming up next. You think about those childhood inspirations, you know, being there at the Capitol in Columbia, or being up in the Capitol in Washington, D.C. with the likes of Strom Thurmond or Philip Sasser. You know, the excitement of being in a community like this, growing up in Conway, living in Myrtle Beach now, knowing that her new community that starts at 5 o'clock tonight, at 10 o'clock tonight, and 11 o'clock tonight, you got to catch her. Her new community serves more than 1 million people. Serves more than 1 million people. The community she lives in serves more than 15 million people every year. They're coming down here, but now she's able to reach out to them every day, all the time, 3 times a day, 5 days a week, if not even more. Martha Hunn, you can catch her on air, WBTW News 13 at 5, Fox 43 at 10 o'clock, and of course back at WBTW News 13 tonight at 11. It's her inaugural re-entry to News 13. Catch her tonight. You know her daughter and husband will be tuning in. Sit in front of the TV with them. Catch her.